Okay, so here's that first question about the cows. And so one of the things I want you to be able to do is know how to make a quote, well-labeled sketch of a normal distribution. So the way we make a well-labeled sketch is basically trying to use the empirical rule with this. And what we do is we put the mean in the middle, and you did that. Actually, I need to get my pointer going here, not so the mean in the middle. But then what you're going to do is you're going to label the 68, 95, 99.7 rule cutoffs. So what I did is I took 11,200, I added the standard deviation of 280, and that's where that number came from. Then I took and added 280 again, and that's where the third, so that's 2 standard deviations above. And then again, I did that again for the third standard deviation. Then going to the left of the mean, I took the 11,200 and I subtracted the 280. I had 1 standard deviation below the mean. So in z-score terms, z is 0 there, z is 1 there, z is 2 there, z is 3 there, z is -1 there, z is -2 there, z is -3 there. Okay, so those are the numbers that I'm looking for when I tell you to do a well-labeled sketch. Okay. So then we're going to ask some questions here. So yes, the next question, about what percentage of cows produce more than 11,480 cows or pounds of milk? Well, I see that 11,480 is 1 standard deviation above the mean. So one way to do this using the empirical rule is I know that 68% of the distribution falls within 1 standard deviation of the mean. So if there's 68% inside it, that tells me there's 32% outside of it, right? Because 100 minus 68 is 32%. Well, since these are symmetric distributions, half of it's down here and half of it's up here. So half of 32 is 16. So there's 16% below 1 standard deviation, and there's 16% above 1 standard deviation. So it's 16%. Now, how did I add? What percent of cows produce more than 1140? 16% of them do. What percentage produce less than 10,360? Let's see if I still have that on my clipboard so I can do a new sketch. I do. Copy, Control V. Whoops, come here and Control V it. Okay, so here's the second part of this question. Well, 10,360 is way down here at -3 standard deviations. Okay, and so if we remember the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, we know 68 is plus or minus 1 standard deviation, 95 or plus or minus 2 standard deviations, and 99.7, or practically all of it, is within 3 standard deviations. So if we have, well, let's see, let me write it as a decimal. So 0.97% is in between 3 standard deviations below and 3 standard deviations above. So what percent's below? Well, 100 minus 99.7% is 0.3%. Then we got to cut that in half. So there's 0.15%, a very small percentage of cows will produce less than 10,360 pounds of milk. Okay. So that's how you do it with the empirical rule. And this problem's kind of tailor-made for the empirical rule because it's using nice cutoffs. Now, if you want to use the David Lane applet for this, I mean, it wouldn't be wrong to here because I didn't tell you to use the empirical rule. So in that David Lane applet, make sure you put the mean in for the mean. Make sure you have areas from a value selected here. Let me get a pointer going here. So make sure you have area from a value because we want looking for an area probability. I put the mean in, I put the standard deviation is, and I wanted to say what was it? It was above, the first question was above, what was it? It was 1140. Okay, so not quite the 16% the empirical rule gave us, but that's the rule of thumb, okay? This is one caution I'm going to tell you, and one reason I want to record this video. If I tell you to use the empirical rule and you give me this for an answer, I'm going to know you didn't. I'm going to know that you use a z-score table or a David Lane applet, okay? So or some normal CDF calculator. So if it says use the empirical rule, we're going to be looking for those nice numbers, not these. Okay, so that's how you, if I wanted to go below, what was it, below 10,360, I'd click below, and that's that. Notice that's a little bit less than the 1.15%. Remember, we're going to move the decimal point over 2 places, make it a percentage. Okay. So that's how you use this David Lane applet instead of having to calculate a z-score. Okay, hopefully this helps.